you're studying up on Japanese culture, you're bound to run into yokai. Specters, ghouls, goblins, fairies, elves. Yokai is a catch-all term for supernatural beings and folktale creatures. All of them are interesting, but today we're going to focus on just one. A lovable little rascal known as the Tanuki. This trickster gets into all kinds of mischief, from transforming into teapots, to impersonating monks, to murdering the elderly. Often incorrectly called a raccoon dog or badger, tanuki are actually a very real species of wild canine native to Japan. The tanuki's magical origins are connected with those of the fox. The fox's magical origins can be traced back to Chinese folklore, where it is unequivocally evil. In Japan, magical foxes are mentioned as far back as the 8th century. Magical tanuki aren't mentioned until the 13th. Even then, they remained relatively unknown until the 16th century, when tanuki art and stories exploded. It was a veritable tanuki renaissance. The older fox-like abilities blended with these new ideas like belly drumming, giant scrotums, and general silliness. And thus, the tanuki was born. Mythical tanuki can look round or skinny depending on the depiction. Edo-era tanuki look more like the actual animal dressed in clothing, whereas the modern tanuki is more fat and smiley. This more modern version from the 20th century often has a straw hat, a promissory note, and a sake bottle. This lets us know that the tanuki likes to wander around, not pay his bills, and get drunk. When it comes to abilities, the tanuki has lots. Shape-shifting is the primary power in the tanuki's arsenal. Tanuki love to imitate humans, especially Buddhist priests and political figures. They're not lizard people, they're not snake people. Obama? Abe? They're tanuki. Illuminati Tanuki conspiracy revealed. Some stories claim that tanuki need to place leaves on their head in order to transform. The leaves are sometimes the leaves of a lotus, which is a sacred plant in Buddhism. Tanuki aren't limited to taking just human shape. They can also transform themselves into objects, like stone lanterns, rocks, trees, teapots, and even the moon. Sounds like marshmallow shapes in a fun tanuki cereal. They can also transform things into other things. If a tanuki gives you money, it'll probably turn into leaves. If a tanuki gives you a meal, it'll probably turn into horse feces while you're eating it. Gross. The illusions don't stop there. Tanuki can also make people see things. They can create things like will-o-wisp fireballs, or they can create entire landscapes to make you lose your way, which is probably the tanuki version of the Roadrunner making the wall, and then you think it's the wall, and then you... Tanuki are perhaps most famous for drumming on their big bellies. Boom, 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 boom. They do this to imitate thunder and rain or trains, and they also do it to make people lose their way, which they really like for some reason. Almost as famous, but perhaps more interesting, is the tanuki's giant scrotum. That's right, I'm talking a big old nutsack. Let's check out some pics. Everything from flying to attacking to exercising to beating fish to death to making giant faces. Tanuki scrotums can do it all. It's said that a tanuki scrotum can stretch to the size of 8 tatami mats. That's a pretty big scrotum. But real-life tanuki have real-life sized testicles, so where did this legend come from? It's got nothing to do with sexual prowess. Metal workers in Kanazawa, when making gold leaf, would wrap the gold in a tanuki scrotum. When you're trying to make gold leaf, you need to stretch the gold out to the thinnest sheet possible, so you need a skin that can stretch as far as it can go. Tanuki scrotum does the trick. Tanuki scrotums were eventually sold as wallets and lucky charms, said to stretch your money the same way they stretched the gold. Of course, these legends don't end in ancient times. Tanuki love continues to this day. The 1994 Studio Ghibli film Pompoko is all about tanuki adventures and giant nuts. Tanuki are prominently featured in video games like Super Mario Bros. 3, Pocky and Rocky, and Animal Crossing. Of course, they are also featured in anime like Naruto, Inuyasha, Pokonyan, and the Eccentric Family. Both Doraemon and One Piece also feature the same running gag involving tanuki. Doraemon and Tony Chopper are often mistaken for tanuki, much to their chagrin. Tanuki are mascots for things like the Lawson convenience store and a neighborhood in Tokyo. Even Sanrio, the creators of Hello Kitty, made a little friend for her that was a tanuki called Pokopone. Of course, the most well-known and most important incarnation of the tanuki is the Tanuki Statue. It's that cute, big-eyed statue outside of shops and restaurants. Not only is this a 20th century development, it's generally attributed to one person, Fujiwara Tetsuzo. Tetsuzo was a potter of Shigaraki yaki, a type of ceramics made in Shiga Prefecture. The story goes that Emperor Hirohito made a visit to Shigaraki in 1951. When he arrived, he found that the street was lined with tanuki statues waving flags to honor him. He was so tickled by this that he wrote a poem. After an endorsement by the emperor, of course, the statue's popularity took off. And this is the tanuki we see today. Gone are his days of trickery and mischief. Now he represents 8 virtues. He's more of a Santa Claus type. You know, drinking a bottle of booze, nuts hanging out, just like Santa. These statues are so popular you can get them in all kinds of varieties. There's Ninja Tanuki, Scooter Tanuki, Yankee Tanuki, Golf Tanuki, Construction Tanuki, Karaoke Tanuki, Albino Love Tanuki, Toothbrushing Tanuki, Golf Tanuki, Chainsaw Tanuki, Baseball Tanuki, Baseball Tanuki, Baseball Tanuki, Baseball Tanuki, and Baseball Tanuki. Tanuki really like baseball, I guess. Whether you're into the jolly, virtuous Tanuki or the Loki-like trickster sociopath, there's something there for everyone. Tanuki, don't you go changin'. Keep on drinking booze, curling up into your nutsack, and feeding people feces. You're a beautiful, magical creature. Are you interested in learning more about Tanuki? Check the link in the description for an article on tofugu.com about Tanuki. It's great.